up? It's Way Up with Angela Yee. I'm Angela Yee, and it's a Wealth Wednesday, so my partner Stacey Tisdale is here.
Happy Wealth Wednesday, everybody. We have got some winning plays for you and a financial playbook for you because we have the honestly incomparable Brandon Copeland with us today, who's an author, 10-year NFL veteran, financial literacy advocate. I can't even...
Founder of Athletes.org.
Founder of Athletes.org, which is a players association for student athletes.
A father.
Yes.
1 month
Yes.
of his third child.
Yeah,
And we'll talk
3
about
boys.
all of that. But, geez, thanks for coming.
Thank y'all for having me. I appreciate being here. It's one, I've been a fan for years, and so it's an honor to be here. But two, what y'all do is extremely needed because you make this stuff digestible, right?
Right.
So I appreciate you.
Man, I'm so glad you're here because earlier this week we were talking about Dwight Howard and what happened to him when he invested $7 million and it happened to be a scam. The person got him, and actually he just got sentenced on Friday.
Really?
The guy who scammed Dwight Howard, I guess he thought he was investing into a WNBA team.
Oh, damn.
And then come to find out, it went to nothing. And so this has been going on for years for him. Yeah. So now the guy's facing, I guess, 11 to 14 years in jail. But that's what's really hard for athletes, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes because you want to do the right thing. And a lot of athletes are scared to figure out where they should invest their money.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you have, years ago there was a documentary, ESPN came out with 30 for 30 broke. And that shined a light on...
It changed everything.
Yeah, on topics and that have always been discussed of athletes losing their money or not managing it well. And then once that came out, that was great because it put a lot of athletes on like, hey, you know what? I'm not trying to end up on that documentary again, right? I don't want to be on the part 2. The problem, not the problem, but ultimately now you have more athletes who are like, okay, I'm going to be conscious with my money. I'm going to ask questions. I know about investing now. It's so much more accessible because of shows like this and platforms and things of that nature, social media, conferences and all that stuff. But the problem is when I came into the NFL as a rookie with the Baltimore Ravens in 2013, one of the things they said is the same way you are a pro football player, there are pro fraudsters out there.
Yes.
There are people who literally wake up every single day and just figure out how can I take your money. And again, it's hard. You're right. Like you said, Dwight, nobody wants to make an investment and it go to zero. And so you do the best due diligence you can. You have your team get around it and all that type of stuff. But no one is successful.
Nobody's immune to it.
Is immune to it. Yeah, I've had my own issues as well when it comes to those things as well too. Right. So, ultimately, you do the best that you can. You hope you make enough to be able to put aside that you can put in things that you don't have to risk it to keep creating wealth and creating revenue for yourself over the long term. But it's sad because there's a lot of people out there who are mean well and are trying to do the best by athletes, but then there's also a lot that are... Yeah, they're out
and
to
it's
get
hard
you.
because every investment is still a risk, no matter what it is. There might be things that you feel like this is foolproof. There's no way that this won't work, and you never can predict what can happen. And then sometimes you kick yourself because you had an opportunity and you didn't take it because you were like, oh, I don't know about this. You don't have the right, and you can have the right person advising you, but nothing, like you said, is foolproof.
Yeah, even the best investors, the investment firms in the world, they're not batting 100%, right? Warren Buffett, the greatest investor of all time, has lost money on a trade or in the market or on a company, right? And so it happens to the best in the world. The goal for athletes is for us to understand that, our earnings potential is limited, right? You can't play ball forever. And so hopefully you don't risk money that you need, like vitally need to live the life that you want beyond your playing career.
I saw in your first 2 years, you said you got fired 4 times playing in the NFL. And that is some financial education right there. So talk to us about that and what that experience taught you.
Yeah, the NFL stands for not for long. And you learn really quickly that, frankly, I mean, I was fortunate. I had a coach. His name was Wink Martindale, a linebacker coach. Yeah, he ended up being the D coordinator for the Giants for a bit. Now he's at Michigan. But he was such a raw, uncut, unfiltered person that it helped me a lot. There's a lot of coaches who they just want to sugarcoat things, just keep things nice in your face. But ultimately, They're not telling you the real game and how you're really doing upstairs, and then a lot of things become surprises. But Wink, he was always like, listen, I'm always shooting to you straight so that years from now we could see each other and we could sit down and have a drink, because you're like, hey, I might not have liked what he said, but he always kept it real with me, right? And so my first few years I got fired really 6 times. 6 times, just practice squad, up and down. Sometimes it'd be, hey, we need a safety. It's not even your position, but because we need to get them up to speed on the playbook, we're going to bring them in early and cut you today type of thing. Mm-hmm. And so I also learned that the NFL, you get paid Tuesday at 4 Eastern is when you're guaranteed your pay for the following week or the current week. Mm-hmm. And so I've been cut, like the Baltimore Ravens, the first time they cut me was on a Wednesday, and they're like, hey, we want to pay you this week. We'll bring you back in on Monday. Never called. They didn't call till 10 years later. And then the Tennessee Titans, one time they cut me at 3:56 p.m. on a Tuesday, so they didn't pay me for the week.
My gosh!
I'm going to go ahead and put you out there, Tennessee. They had me go do community service that morning, put on the jersey. They had all of us rookies and the mascot out there at the local school doing it, which I'm all for the kids anyway. Right. I would have probably done it if you asked me, but to have me do it and then call me later and then cut me.
Like, don't make me
4 minutes before pay.
Yeah.
That is
4
crazy.
Minutes. 4 minutes. I knew it was a random Tennessee number. My mind told me not to answer it, but I answered it. So anyway, but for 10 years, that was year 1. So literally the next 9 years, my family knew, don't call or text me on Tuesday before 4 Eastern. And like literally that was just a written rule.
People don't realize that you live with that players live with that much stress. And you came at it probably better prepared than most. I mean, you went to UPenn, Wharton mm-hmm. School of Business, and I know you and I have spoken before about a lot of financial outcomes, they happen by making the right choice at the right moment. Mm-hmm. And you said your decision, and this goes back to high school, to ask your high school football coach in your book for a job was a major moment for you. Yeah. So take us back to how you got here before you take us forward.
Yeah, I think, so growing up, my mom, who's amazing, her name's Angela as well, too.
Hey, we love her.
Yeah, she's amazing. She was working really hard. We have a brother, both of us big people, so she was putting 2 husky boys through sports, keeping the fridge full, all of that type of stuff. But she was budgeting her tail off to make ends meet. So my mom, she was a master in organization and budget. No one taught her about investing or any of those types of things, right? But she was disciplined when it came to, no, we can't do that. We can't buy candy in the checkout aisle. We can't, when we go to the McDonald's or whatever, it's dollar menu, no drink or nothing, get the burger that you need and we'll get everything else at the house, right? And that as a little kid was just kind of like, man, one day I want to make so much money I can buy super size if I want. One day I want to buy all the Milky Ways in this bad boy if I want. I was also
buy
husky.
A McDonald's maybe.
Yeah. Well, see, my mind didn't even think like that back then, but it was just like, man, I'm going to ball so hard that I can buy anything I want, right? And I went to high school. I went to a private high school called Gilman, nice football school, and the coach there was just fascinating to me. Every Wednesday in the summer, we would do a little spring workouts practice, and he'd have like 43 pizzas. And I always remember because it would put like 1 out of 43 or whatever. And I'm just like, what is this dude doing that he can buy all these pizzas every single week consistently? And he's not a drug dealer. He's not a basketball or former football player. Like, what does he do? And so one day, as a sophomore, I go up and ask him, like, hey, can I learn from you? Like, I don't know what you do, but can I learn from you? And he happened to run a hedge fund. And he was one of the few coaches at the school that didn't teach because he ran a hedge fund. Now he's a head coach at University of Charlotte. He still has his family office now. But he would put kids through school. He would send kids on like overseas trips and things like that to give them different experiences. And I was always just like, I don't know what you do, but the things that you do, I want to do that one day as well too. So fortunately, he was like, hey, go get your workouts in. And then after your workouts every day in the summer, you can come over to the office. And that's the first time where I started seeing Bloomberg terminals and CNBC was on all of the TVs and, the ticker going. I had no idea what it was saying, but that's what introduced me into money and really people sitting behind a desk in front of computers making millions of dollars. And that's where a lot of this stuff, this curiosity for business started.
Wow.
That's a fascinating. That something like that. That's a life-changing thing that can happen. Having that person in your life. Thank God he wasn't a drug dealer.
Yeah.
So everybody think about that. That this is your decision to ask. Your decision to ask. So you've written this amazing Your Money Playbook, and I love how you broke it into quarters.
Yeah.
And what's the first quarter? So we're going to tackle our finances
The art of
now.
hustle.
Art of the hustle.
You got to
Art
make
of
some money
hustle.
to be
Okay.
able to even do anything.
Preach.
Yeah, you
The
gotta
art of
make some
hustle.
muscle. You gotta earn, right? Like ultimately, so you gotta roll up your sleeves and make money to have the opportunity to put it into things that make you money, right? And so the art of the hustle is first and foremost one mindset, right? Like I just think of there's so many people who I take inspiration from in terms of, oh, you have something already, but you still want to go get it. You still want more. It was the same mindset that helped me be great in football, but now for me, it's translating it over to money. And I would just ask any reader, what is your mindset around money? And you got to think about, do you have a survival mindset? Do you have a thrive mindset? Do you have a limited mindset? Are you willing to roll up your sleeves and go get it? Are you willing to work harder than the person next to you? But then also work even more hard to figure out how I don't have to work as hard, right? One of the most fascinating things to me was I sat down with one of my Jets teammates years ago, a guy named Steve McClendon. We were doing an interview, and he was like, man, people always talk about dream chasing. We dream chasers, right? 24/7, grind all day, no days off, no sleep. He was like, man, at some point you got to catch the dream. Like, I want to catch the dream so that I can actually enjoy all my hard work. And
That's
so
true.
first and foremost, the art of the hustle is getting your mind right, evaluating things you went through as a child to figure out if you need to unlearn some of those money traumas so that you can actually evolve and elevate beyond that. And in order for you to even have a chance to do the other things, you got to earn money, like I said before.
That's interesting to talk about because there's people who I know who are like, I don't care if I'm passionate about this or not. I just need to figure out how to make money and the right things to do. And then there's people who are like, I'm only doing the things that I'm passionate about, and that will at some point make me some money. You know, and I always wonder, like, what's the balance between those things?
Yeah, I think you got to know what it's different for every person, right? And for me, I'm a guy who I genuinely want to like what I do, right? Like I've one of the most pivotal experiences for me is I interned at UBS, Union Bank of Switzerland, right up the street. A summer intern there for 2 years. And one time I was talking with one of my mentors who was killing it by all societal standards. And, you know, we get into this conversation and somehow we get to happiness. And I'm like, oh, so are you happy? And he literally is just like, looks down, looks out the window, looks back down, says, no, I'm not happy. He's like, I got 3 daughters. He had his daughters' picture frames right there. He's like, I got 3 daughters. I can buy them anything in the world that they want, but I'm pushing around bullshit. I'm not happy.
As
right?
the author of the book, The True Cost of Happiness, I will say it is important to find what you're passionate about because you're going to run out of energy.
You'll burn
for
out.
things that
You'll burn out.
you don't.
But then there's some people who don't want any emotional tie at all. They don't want any emotional tie to their business, right? And I guess that's why I say it's different. I've learned that it's
depending on your
different.
goals.
Yeah.
Because some people are good with making a ton of money and maybe they don't love what it is that they do, but being able to have that to show for it is something that makes them satisfied.
Yeah. Like I'm a real life example. There's I've seen so many people talk about vending machines. You guys have talked about vending machines and things like that. We at the local YMCA, there's all these kids there. My sons go there, play basketball and things like that. There's no vending machines. And I'm just sitting there like, well, hey, if I ever wanted to start a vending machine business, here it is. So
Yeah.
I got the owners or the leaders' contact information, talked to them this weekend. I've already talked to multiple people about their experience running it. He said, just send me an email and let's see what we can do. cool. I'm not passionate about vending machines. I am passionate about making money.
Absolutely.
But I understand how to take this business and treat it, for me, like real estate and make it into another business.
Those side
That's the art of the
hustles
hustle.
give you money to explore your passion.
Absolutely.
Like you want to give yourself financial freedom
Absolutely.
to be able to do that.
Well, let's get to the second quarter.
Go ahead.
I know we only got to the
What
first
is
one
it?
so far. 'Cause- all right, second quarter.
Power of growth.
Power of growth. Well, that's investing. I think that I always tell people when I started teaching at Penn, University of Pennsylvania, while I was playing with the Jets. And one of the two biggest lessons that I learned as I was studying up to be able to confidently go in there and be a professor was, one, you got to understand taxes, and tax strategy is so important. That's your biggest bill. Two, one of the biggest lies in the world was put your money in the bank, put your money in the bank, put your money in the bank. And for me, I don't know about you guys, but I grew up and everybody was like, put your money in the bank, put your money in the bank, put your money in the bank.
Open a bank account.
Yeah, put it in a bank account, right? And ultimately the bank takes your money and they go out and they grow it. And then they give you back a little percentage of it. And so for me, the power of growth is understanding investing and trying to invest for yourself. As your income grows, invest for yourself in different layers and levels. So one, when I'm investing for an older, gray-haired version of me that doesn't want to do anything, that just wants to sit on the porch and chill, right? So that's retirement investing. What money am I putting away for an older version of me? Two, I'm also investing for the more immediate future. This is liquid investing. I call it active investing, where you can take money in and out of it, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 6 months from now, if you want to and if you choose to.
The apps are
Right.
great for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes even having that liquid available, if you're trying to do something, they need to see a certain amount of liquid available
Yeah.
That
right
you can
there.
actually touch,
Yeah.
and feel. And then also, another thing that people neglect at times is just investing in yourself, investing in your own development, investing in what you want to be and who you want to be 5 years from now. I mean, we spend the beginning of our lives going through so much education in different formats to become the people that we are, and then we just put that on pause because life starts lifing. You got to be a father, you got to work, you got to do this, you got to do that. But what investments are you making on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis that are going to lead you to the person you want to be 10 years from now?
Okay. We are moving into the third quarter, folks, and Coach is saying commitment to smart spending.
Yeah. So that's the toughest part, I would say, right?
it
As you
is.
keep,
Agreed.
as you earn more,
You spend more.
Yeah, you spend more.
A lot more.
And you spend more. You feel like you should spend more.
You owe more in taxes.
You owe more in taxes, and then you also. You feel like you deserve it, as you should. You worked hard, you put in the sacrifice. Well, why would I do all of that to live the same way I was living 2 years ago, right? And so that's the toughest part, right? Is how do you, quote unquote, keep the same energy as you continue to evolve your financial game plan? Real life example, my wife and I were moving to Houston. We are building our forever home right now. They just put up the drywall. Shout out to y'all. Keep working hard. We appreciate you.
Is it on time? I'm just curious. I know how hard.
So far, I'm
That's
not going to
great.
lie.
She's
So
bitter
far,
right
it is
now.
on
Let me
time.
not jinx
She's
you. That's,
bitter.
that's a blessing. Okay.
Yeah. So far, it is on time, right? But yeah, so that's going. But wifey and I, we had to come back, and we can afford the crib. We're good, but it's like, but let's just challenge ourselves, right? Like we spending a little too much over here, right? Like let's create a budget, let's lock it down, and guess what? Now that additional threshold, we're just gonna keep putting it into investments, right? Creating simple challenges for yourself can help you stay committed to your future and long-term goals. And one of the best things to do if you feel like, hey, I'm by myself, I don't have a partner or spouse to answer to, I'm 22 years old, I don't really know what I want to be or where I want to be 10 years from now. One of the things I do for myself, but I always say is you should find yourself an accountability buddy or
Absolutely.
an accountability group. And these are people that you are going to literally check in with at whatever cadence you feel is acceptable to make sure that you're sticking to the goals that you set for yourself.
Right.
Because ultimately, you can't afford.
You can't do it alone.
Yeah, and you can't afford to be wrong on this.
And the right accountability person, because there are some people who are secretly in competition with you, and you have to be able to be honest too, because certainly at times some people aren't honest with you. I know people will be like, I got paid XYZ for this. And you're like, no, you didn't, but they'll try to make you feel bad about your financial situation or make you, it's just a matter of having the right people around you. I think that is so important to your point.
Absolutely. You got to find the right people around you. And you also got to find people who aren't just going to nod their head yes at everything that you say. And so if you're looking for this accountability group, you either find someone who has lived what you are looking to live before, so to speak, right? They've made some decisions about business or family that you want to do someday. Or for me, I always try to find people who literally look at the world totally differently than I do. So
that's really important. I have a mastermind, and a lot of the women in it want to be partnered for an accountability partner with people who have a similar financial background. Right. I'm like, no.
Yeah. And I want somebody that's looking at it totally different. I'm a risky person. I will bet on me all day, every day, right? My accountability, one of my main accountability buddies, he's super conservative. I'm putting it in index funds, and I'm just letting it ride, and I'm not doing anything else to it. I'm not going to touch it for another 30 years, right? Vanguard, VOO, right? That's his thing. No disclaimer, don't sue us here. But that's what I do to make sure I keep myself in check, because as you do good, it's easier to get more and more pulls at you that take you off the path to success.
So we're taking our accountability partner into the fourth quarter.
Yep.
And we got the promise of legacy.
Yeah, legacy. Everybody talks about, well, not everybody, but a lot of people talk about generational wealth, and I'm doing this for my kids, and that is phenomenal, right? And so in the book, in your money playbook, we go through what are some of the most crucial things you should do to make sure that you're structuring your legacy, your estate plan properly, but also the things that you should think about as well too within that whole conversation, that whole discussion. On top of that, though, one thing that I've found that a lot of people miss or forget is actually spending the time with your children to actually make sure that they're prepared to handle this.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
The pressure that you're handing over to your children by handing over assets, for example, right? Do they know how to deal with those assets? Do they know how to deal with uncomfortable conversations? Do they know how to deal with, there's a curse to the lottery winner for a reason, right? There's a curse of being in the spotlight for a reason, and not that you're handing that to your children, but you are also, for some of us, the first time in history, handing over a responsibility to them that you want to make sure that they understand, that you want to make sure it doesn't crumble them or crush them.
Because I think about if I had made a lot of money when I was younger, somebody else was telling me this too. I don't know where I'd be right now, because you might have, it could end up being something negative for you if you don't know how to handle it at the time.
But people have such a hard time talking about this. And I put this a lot on older generations, because when you talk to young generations, and coaching, mentoring, collectives I have with younger generations, is really hitting me how so many of them are saying they're not having kids or stuff because they're carrying the weight of that one day I'm going to be financially responsible for my parents.
Yeah.
And their parents aren't doing things like wills, estate plans. People don't like thinking about those things, talking about those things. You can be the best, save money for your kid to pass on generational wealth your whole life. It just takes one instant.
Yep.
I always tell Angela, all of a sudden, my father needed round-the-clock health care, and all of a sudden, $25,000
all
a
his
year.
money gone. Yeah. And they know how much money they have, and their whole retirement is gone from that.
Yeah.
And my friend had her mom that was needed around-the-clock care, and she was like, Angela, she had all this money in her retirement. It's all gone.
Yeah.
Just because of that.
Exactly. Yep. And people don't realize they're leaving their kids with a hot mess, but how do you
That's what I told my mom. I was like, please take care of your bills. If you don't, I'm going to have to do it. Because she's like, whatever. It's like too much. I can't even
it's going to be my
I'm like,
problem.
I'm going to have to deal with it. Trust me, it doesn't just go away and disappear. Let's handle that now.
Right.
What do you say to people to get them over that, not wanting to look at it, not wanting to talk to their kids about it? It's just
it's
critical.
I will say it's tough, right? Again, one thing I've learned, and I'm sure you all have learned it as well too, is like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink, like the old adage says. And it's like, I'm going to tell you, you need to have the conversation. Like, there's so many people who also talk to me about, like, well, it's awkward having these types of money conversations with my partner and my spouse. What are y'all married for then? What's going on here, right? Like, ultimately,
be comfortable with uncomfort. Right. People are so afraid
Yeah,
of being uncomfortable for a minute.
If I could walk in the bathroom after you poop and it stinks like that, we should be able to have a nice conversation.
Yeah, well, I mean, like,
Clean the
what
toilet.
are we doing in this life together?
I couldn't have said that better. Nobody's ever said that better.
It's like, but what are we really talking about then, right? Like, I mean, yes, there are uncomfortable conversations. Yes, no one wants to have it. I don't like to have it at all, right? But I know I need to have it. I know I have to do it. And I know that most of the best things in life, usually there's a wall of discomfort that you have to push through to make them happen. And you can either decide to avoid it and avoid the conversation, and unfortunately, the probability says that you will leave your family dealing with guessing what you wanted to happen with all your money and your assets. The government will likely take a third of it as well too.
And you need to tell your kids these things. Like, this is what's going to happen.
You need to have the conversation.
On whatever the thing is that's being left to you if it's not done in the proper way.
Absolutely. And the thing is too, and I've seen it in my own family is when that, unfortunately, somebody passes away, and if they don't have their affairs in order per se, then now the children start to guess. And then that guessing turns into debates, and then that debates turns into arguments and fights over what you think that such and such wanted done, right? And then that splinters the family even more.
And now you're not talking to your own family members. That happens in real estate all the time. There's all these brownstones in Brooklyn that a family member, the mom, the dad left to the kids, and they have to split it up. One person wants to sell, two people don't, or one person's living there and they feel like they should be able to continue. It's just so much drama that can happen, and the easiest way that you can make that better is to make sure you're very clear in what should happen.
And now with technology apps, you can do an outline of a will in 15 minutes. I mean, it's incredible how much that blows up. But before you get out of here, let's talk about people who have lots of money, athletes.
And athletes.org. And what made you even start that?
Tell everybody about athletes.org.
Yeah, so athletes.org, founded by my co-founder now, Jim Cavall. And long story short, college athletes have produced an amazing industry for a lot of people to get wealthy and make money, and a lot of people enjoy. A lot of people get entertained by it as well too. Unfortunately, the people who get the shortest end of the stick as well are college athletes, right? It was a guy, Shabazz Napier, when they won the national championship years ago, said the confetti was dropping. They were like, man, how you feel? He's like, hey, this is cool and all, but I got to go home to bullshit after this, right? And so my thing with college athletes and just in general, it's like, how do you reward the people who are producing everything?
The reason why you're making all this money is these people. And there was breaking news today.
There was breaking news.
Can you tell us that breaking news that we found out while we were recording this?
Yes. So there's a monumental historic case, House versus NCAA. Grant House is a swimmer, former swimmer at Arizona State University. He sued the NCAA with a bunch of college athletes and basically said, you all owe us money for utilizing our name, image, and likeness without our permission. And so for the first time in history, the NCAA has settled with athletes and agreed to pay athletes directly from their schools. What that means is University of Syracuse athletes will be able to get a check from their schools. Alabama athletes will be able to get a check. Exactly. And this is huge. It's monumental because those are the people who are reaping all the benefits and the rewards, right? The contracts that happen with the conferences, the multi-billion-dollar contracts. College football playoffs alone just did I'm going to say 8-year, $7.8 billion contract, right? Now that $7.8 billion is split amongst the schools, the conferences, et cetera. Well, some of that should be able to go to the athletes that are actually on the field, getting injured, getting hurt, and putting their livelihoods and their careers on the line for
so they also don't have the pressure of dealing with their families. Not, it's crazy that you can have that added stress of having to be concerned about, your family and yourself and paying for things. Yeah. This is something that it's going to be really helpful because there's a lot of kids who also skip college or don't do their 4 years.
Yeah,
right.
We were talking about that earlier. It's I have a child who's a student athlete, and when he started just a year ago, everyone was going for a year and then trying to get an NBA contract. Oh no, people are coming to college. They're wanting to stay in college.
They can develop there, also make some money.
They're getting paid six figures. They're entrepreneurial. They're starting businesses. So I see how those top ticket guys are making millions and millions of dollars in college. That we had a show a couple of months ago, and we brought up how American parents are spending, what was it, $40 billion a year on youth sports. 20% of them, $40 billion out of parents' pockets. 20% of them are taking second jobs and overtime. The superstars are benefiting from this, but how's this going to trickle down to the people who actually made these money-making athletes?
Yeah, I think that, trickle down to the parents, or
like it seems like it only benefits a few elite athletes.
Gotcha.
Because there's going to be some students that don't make it into professional sports.
Absolutely.
Also, obviously, the majority of them won't.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that's so even coming back, so what Athletes.org is, because I explained how the money working with the settlement was, what Athletes.org is a players association for college athletes. And when I was in the NFL, we had the NFL Players Association. I actually just came from the NBPA, the National Basketball Players Association. That is the group. Every pro league has a union and a players association that just advocates and protects the interests of the players. What that players association does is it helps create standard contracts, minimum salaries, minimum guarantees, things of that nature. College athletes don't have any of that right now, which is why you see so many college athletes who are being promised money that they're never actually going to ever receive.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's happening all the time, unfortunately. You see so many. Whenever I had 8 surgeries, while playing in the NFL, and whenever I had a injury, I was able to go to another doctor, a second medical opinion, to make sure that what they were saying was right.
Right.
College athletes don't have that right. And so for us, our job is to organize the athletes and allow for them to sit into their own many negotiations, not many, huge, multi-billion-dollar negotiations against their schools, so that they can make sure that they're getting the maximum value that they should get from this deal. So next year, fall of 2025, every school will be able to pay up to $22.1 million or $23.1 million to their athletes that year. It'll increase, but up to 2034 to 2034, it'll increase up to about $33 million per school. So this is over $20 billion that the top schools will be able to share with their athletes over the next 10 years alone. It's a huge opportunities of renaissance for athletes to be making money before they ever go to the league. And if they don't go to the league, they
still be good.
Walk away with something,
and they'll be college educated, because all of a sudden college is popular again.
Amen. But to get to your point, like you said, the stars. The stars are the stars, right? Like there's only one LeBron James, there's only one Stacey Tisdale, there's only one Angela Yee, right? Like
good
y'all
analogy.
are going to eat, right? Like
Good analogy.
It is what it is. There's certain people who are up there. I was an undrafted free agent. I was bottom of the totem pole in the NFL, but because I had minimum contracts, because I had certain protections in place that wouldn't allow the team to get over on me, I've been able to change my family's life forever as a result of some of those structures in place. Again, right now, there is no structure. So when college athletes actually have that organization called Athletes.org that is their protection, it's going to continue to move the needle for everybody.
You're so smart. You're a financial literacy advocate, educator, and you also have a foundation Beyond the Basics. Talk about that and how people can actually work with you and your curriculum and everything.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. Beyond the Basics, BTB, that is the foundation my wife and I started years ago. It was to help young people realize their full potential. I always tell people, I thank you. Thank you for the compliment that I'm smart. I appreciate it. God gave me ambition unlike any other. He gave me curiosity. He gave me brains as well, too. But I am smart enough to also know I just happen to be in the right places at the right time, to have mentors like my coach who said, yeah, come on, I'll show you this. To be able to go to a school like Penn and the Wharton School of Business, and to come home one summer, and while I was back home doing a couple of odd jobs, but training. When I came home, when I came back to school, and everybody's like, man, I interned at this company, I was like, you know what, I'm getting me an internship too. I'm gonna try to go to UBS. Let me see. Right. So I had exposure. And there are a lot of people in this world, young people especially, who have so much ambition, so much talent, but they don't have exposure or anyone that'll take the blinders off of them. And so that's what we specialize in, and that's what we do. And we do this we use certain tentpole events. We have football camps in the summer, of course. I'm a football player, so I got to do that. But then we also have an event coming up soon actually called December to Remember. December to Remember is a shopping spree for kids across the country. Last year we did 11 different cities. Over 20 NFL players were involved in different team cities, and we took over 750 kids shopping, gave away over $100,000.
That's amazing.
To all those kids. And so this year we're going to do the same thing. But again, all of those are like catalysts to find the right kids who have that spark, that ambition, and they want more for themselves. And then how can we provide more infrastructure and support around them to give them opportunities to shadow people who are in the field of their dreams.
Yeah. That will definitely put a spark like it did for you.
Amen.
Excellent.
Well, your Money Playbook, which, by the way, was #1 on Amazon, so congratulations on that. It's only been out for not even a month yet.
Yeah, not even a month. It'll be a month later on this week.
So people can go to Amazon to get that?
Yeah, you go to yourmoneyplaybook.com, and you can purchase it. There's multiple places you can get it at, but yeah, yourmoneyplaybook.com.
And the baby came the same week that this was
And
#1.
he's got a 1 month
Congratulations.
His account's already set up. He's ready.
Yeah,
He's ready.
there you
His
go.
account's
It's good to
ready.
go.
Yep.
And follow Brandon at bcope51.
Yeah, this was amazing.
Thank
I
you.
got to ask you one last thing. What was your favorite city to play in?
Ooh.
What was your favorite team?
So I'm going to give you 2 answers. One, New York.
Got it. Jets.
New York,
Okay.
it's nothing like New York. Baltimore.
Because that's where you're.
That's where I'm from. Baltimore Ravens. And you couldn't. That city just knows football. Like, especially a defensive player, you're treated like an offensive player in Baltimore. So,
Okay.
I mean, not treated like Lamar Jackson, but
Can we all say a collective prayer before you go for my New York football team?
Hey,
help
tell
them.
them call me.
You
Tell
said
them call
help
me.
them.
I'm joking.
Do something. The Giants won yesterday. But help
did.
them.
Yes,
All
they
right.
did.
Well, thank you so much. Your Money Playbook: How to Earn More, Build Wealth, and Win at Life.
Thank you.
Brandon Copeland, thank you so much for joining us.